Well, Evan, welcome to the show.
Good to see you, Eric.
Yeah, man, we haven't spoken in a while. I know we message a little bit here and there and talk on the socials a little bit, but just wanted to check in and talk to you about what you've been up to, how you've seen things change, because, man, it seems like everything in podcasting changes quickly. So tell us about what you've been up to project-wise and what you're working on.
Yeah, well, just to clarify, you and I messaging on socials is really us sending each other memes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I try not to take social too seriously. I do try to post like actual content about podcasting, but I find it tough. Like I kind of just want to screw around on there.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's when you're buddies too. It's like you can like put, it's like you can do your professional posts and then I'll see like a little meme or something like, oh, I definitely am sending this one to Eric in the private chat.
Yeah, man. I've struggled with that with social. I know some people like crush it and it actually does like help them get leads for their work and help grow their brand and stuff. But I haven't really been able to do that.
Yeah. I got to tell you, I'm not really into social media that much either. I mean, I'm on it. I'm checking it every day.
Sure.
I mean, you're really active on like LinkedIn.
I love LinkedIn's one of my favorites. I don't know why. I guess because it's I guess I know why. Because seems like I get the most organic like engagement and people liking and people commenting. Whereas like on Instagram, like I'll put time and I'll actually like cut like a short video of something I think is like good, like something I think that people would like and learn from, but then it's like doesn't really go anywhere. Like I don't know. I don't know. So that's why I like LinkedIn. Yeah,
I like we're living in a world of just like ever shortening like attention spans. And so I don't know, man. I feel like Instagram and all that stuff, it's like people are really only interested in just like really quick hit stuff. And so I don't know. I don't know. It's a challenge. I'm not really trying too hard on Instagram or anything. Like I just kind of use it as a tool to kind of just let people know that I'm still there doing stuff. I'm mostly just sharing about projects I do.
Yeah. That's kind of me is like I kind of do it just to honestly stay relevant, I guess, to some extent. But yeah, unless you already have like a big brand or somebody of like influence, it seems like people just want those quick hits. I guess those bigger accounts, and I guess people actually watch like the full reel, but it just seems like, people are in the mood to just like swipe, get that quick little break and then get back to it.
Well, I mean, you have a way bigger Instagram than I do. At least my PodPeak, my podcast business channel, like you have a way bigger Instagram than I do.
Dude, there was a time this was maybe like 2018, where like I was posting shit and it was actually like growing and I was like getting followers and I was like, oh, this is great. Like, it's just kind of like working. And then one day it just kind of like stopped. So I don't know, but
I think people on Instagram are just doing reels, man.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what I do.
Yeah. Are you seeing with your clients, and I know you handle more of like the production side, but are they like for the shows that they work on, are they working with someone to like boost social, or is there like a marketing person that?
Yeah. So, I mean, I work with, a varied group of clients, probably like you do. Like I work with some clients that are essentially bigger businesses, entities that have resources to have a team. They basically have money all the way down to one-person shows.
Sure.
Just kind of like us. They kind of do everything on their own. So, for example, the podcast I work on, Climbing Gold, with Alex Honnold, the company they're called Duct Tape Then Beer. And so they're essentially a media company. They do a couple different podcasts. There's a team. So they work with someone to help them do their social media. They've got a person exclusively just working on their YouTube content. So like they've got someone working on the social media. Same with, I work a little bit with the Anchorage Daily News here in Anchorage. Obviously, they've got social media people that do all their social media stuff. And they've got, big social media followings, tens to hundreds of thousands of followers. And then I work with other clients who have, anywhere between 100 and 10,000 followers on Instagram. So it's kind of just all over the place.
Yeah, and it's hard with a podcast too to translate that content to Instagram or TikTok. Yeah, I mean, I know you can, if it's a video podcast, cut the clips, but it's hard, I feel like, to translate that. But speaking of that, of climbing gold and working with the Anchorage Daily News.
Yeah,
I remember last time we talked, you said that's kind of like your niche and your bread and butter, but like you would maybe, and it's been great because that's how you make your money and make a living, but you were maybe looking to expand into like other types of podcasts where it's not so much like outdoors focused.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Are you still, is that still a goal?
Yeah. And yeah, that's kind of just the niche I'm in.
Yeah. And it's good. I think it's okay to, yes, it can get monotonous, always editing, that kind of stuff, but it's good to find your lane and then try. I'm all for like staying in your lane. Yes, we all have ideas of other stuff we want to work on, but like if it's working, it's working,
right. Yeah. I'm really into, I mean, the big shift for me is that I'm really into becoming just like a better storyteller and like script writer. And so, rather than doing like interview style podcasts, which is kind of what I started out doing, I guess my interest is more moving into like bigger production, narrative style series podcasts that are like have elements of like investigative journalism, true crime. Like I love that stuff. So, and we've done some like bigger productions, like series on Climbing Gold, which has been amazing. I mean, I've learned a ton from working with that team. So I think that's the transition, is more as like, I'm really into narrative style storytelling. And that's something kind of creatively, personally, and professionally that I've been working towards getting better at over the last few years.
Yeah. And that's probably more, you get to like use your creative juices more in like sound design. I'm sure there's a lot of cool stuff you could do. Cause to be honest, I largely, actually exclusively now work on the interview stuff. And that's great and everything, but I can imagine it'd be fun to like sink your teeth into actual like a creative project where you're telling a story and getting to mix and
it's a lot. I mean,
it's a lot of work.
You've worked on big projects like that. It's a lot of work.
Oh yeah, I mean, people don't realize.
No, you've got you might have like 10 different interviews that you've done. And all of that stuff needs to be organized and transcripted. And then you have to create like assemblies out of all that stuff and storylines and then do narration. And I mean, it's a lot.
And do you, I know you do a lot, all like, the post stuff, but do you do any like on site, like in the field interviews? Is that of interest?
Well, less and less.
Sure.
Just because there was a time where I was into that stuff, but I'm honestly kind of more. I would rather other people do that stuff. For a couple different reasons, but I mean, I like doing that stuff. I mean, do I like it? Yeah. But I just like, there's only so much you can do in a. I have so many different things going on that I find that I'm just more productive if I'm working primarily in my studio.
Yeah. Studio rat. I like that. Especially up in Alaska. I can imagine, this time of year.
Yeah.
Indoors, right?
Yeah, it's like it's 0 Fahrenheit out this morning. It's really cool. I'm like looking out my window and it's like, dude, it looks so cold right now.
Snow or just frigid?
Oh no, there's a lot of snow.
Okay.
But I mean, it's just, you can just look how clear the sky is, and it's just so you can tell it's really cold. Like
that's what I've heard. I haven't lived in a cold climate, but it's actually kind of warmer slightly when it's cloudier because it's like an insulation layer.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's That's different.
High pressure in the winter, is clear skies and cold weather. And then, like low pressure would be like thick clouds coming in, and it'll get warmer and soupier.
So if you have to go to the store, like if you want to go to the market, get groceries or something, it's like anybody else that would do that. It's just you have to layer it. You have to prepare more, kind of.
Yeah, I'm actually going to the store later today. So first, I'm gonna warm my car up for about 20 minutes.
Yeah, and
then I'm gonna put my Sorel winter boots on, my big puffy jacket and a hat, and friggin' go to the store.
Damn, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, dude, you're living the dream, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's for us. It's actually cold today. It gets windy. So I moved. I'm still in LA, but I moved like further out, like in the suburbs, the San Fernando Valley. Like it's kind of. It's not like there's nothing cool really happening out here. It's good for families because it's kind of more like suburban and like chill, but there's no like restaurant. I mean, they're all like chain restaurants and like there's nothing like the cool side of LA out here. But yeah, it gets windy out here. I mean, it was probably like 40-mile-an-hour winds last night, which seems like for me, that's a lot.
I mean, that's part of the scary thing with the fires and stuff in that area is that dry wind, man.
Big time. Yeah, there've been a couple. There was one. It's out now, but it burned for a while. Maybe like 30 miles north of here, and it was bad. But tell me about the studio. So, and I want to talk a little bit about that production process on like working on bigger stuff with narrative shows. Like what kind of tools? I know you use Reaper, but like what's the process like? What tools are you using to collaborate with other people, and kind of what's the flow of that?
Well, the big shift this last year, which I know that you wanted to talk about, like tools we were using in AI, and I know you're familiar with this program, but the big shift primarily working with Climbing Gold is that we're as a team working in Descript, which is incredible for that kind of stuff.
Oh, for storytelling, yeah, and it's all saved in real time. Yeah, if you're with a team, people can highlight stuff or put on marker and
or just like a lot of the. So you talk about the workflow. Let me try and like simplify this. So the structure would be. So let's say you do all of the interviews with all of the characters who are going to be in the series, in the story. All of their interviews will get uploaded into Descript. So they'll each have their own little session that gets transcribed. So then what we'll go through is we'll go through each of those interviews and we'll cut what we call selects. So we'll kind of know what story we want to tell going into the project. So then we'll start, everybody will get assigned to a couple different interviews and we'll cut selects. And that means basically going in and finding the best bits of those interviews that will be used in the story. So once we've got the selects cut, then we'll move to what we call the assembly, which is starting to kind of create like the bones of the script. And we'll do that by essentially just pulling those selects from all the interviews and putting those in an assembly and starting to tell the story just with those clips. And then so the story will just kind of start coming together that way. And then usually what we'll do is there will be a review process, going through the assembly. And then we might add some more selects. We might cut some. We might, we'll just refine. And then we'll go in and cut the narration and put it in there where it needs to go. And so I would say the majority of the work gets done scripting on paper, pre-production. It's all done in scripting. And then it's like the last 25% is done in post-production. So that's what I've learned working with these other companies is that in my experience, there's a huge front end of work that goes in the scripting process and refining the script and getting it better and better. And the cool thing with Descript is that you can be listening while you're reading, which is great. And then, You can also obviously do editing audio editing in Descript, which I don't do, but there's another person who does that. And then once we kind of get that kind of ready to go, they will export those stems to me, and I will mix it and do all of the final post-production in Reaper. So I don't know. That was a lot of information.
Yeah, no,
but
I love that. No, that makes total sense to me, and probably some of our listeners who use Descript, which I think a lot of them do. No, that makes total sense, man. How many people are involved?
With the climbing gold,
Yeah,
probably like 3 or 4. There's kind of a core team.
Yeah.
So so it's like there's Fitz, who's kind of the project manager. It's his company. So there's another guy he's kind of doing a lot of the basic kind of cleanup stuff. And these are for like interview style. He'll go and just kind of do like a rough cleanup, export the stems to me, and then I'll do the final polish. And then when we're doing like the series stuff, we'll have 2 or 3 people going through and cutting selects from all those interviews, because that's a pretty tedious, time-consuming process.
Oh yeah,
You got to listen to the interview. You have
think
to
of the story.
Yeah. But it's cool because if you take the time to do that on the front end, like you can put comments in there, you can highlight stuff, and that way anybody who's working on the project would be able to go in there and be like, oh yeah, here's the best part. Oh, here's where he talks about this. And so it's a lot of tedious work, but if you put that work in on the front end, it saves you a ton of time on the back end, as you know.
Oh, big time. Yeah. And I think just like, you said it's so collaborative with like, leaving comments or highlighting, or even someone, say they're like on the team or on any team that's like a really good storyteller and has like the vision, but they can't really edit like waveforms in like in a DAW. They can get in there and like delete some like chunks of text or like highlight it or whatever. And so it makes it accessible to everyone. I use it, so I don't do crazy edits in there, but oftentimes I will like look at it and like just remove like big chunks.
Right.
Because I find if you try to get too granular with the editing, it gets a little blippy and like jumpy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but for like, deleting like chunks of a story or taking a paragraph and like copy paste, maybe you want that like to place later or sooner and you can move it around. Right. But yeah, I think it's game changing for that. I've been trying to implement Descript. So I work on one show that it's a scripted. So the company fully writes out a script word for word, and then they hire a voiceover person to read it and record it, and then I clean it up. But they just send over like Word documents, and oftentimes it's a financial company, so oftentimes their lawyers, after the first version goes out, the lawyers will like rewrite something or take something out for like legal purposes. And then they'll send me like a new Word document that's like the new updated script. And sometimes there's several versions, and I want to get to the point where it's like we all share a Descript thing, and if they want to add something, they can leave a note, or if they need to like cut something. And so it's just like one file that's instead of like.
I think that there's like there's a shift happening. I think the challenge is that right now everybody's familiar with Google Docs. So it's like if you're working with a company, you're like, well, hey, do you want to use Google Docs or whatever Microsoft's version of that? So it's like the challenge with Descript, with working with people who aren't maybe in audio, is like you kind of have to train them a little and convince them a little like, hey, this is actually a little bit better. It's kind of similar to Google Drive, but it's a lot more powerful.
Yeah, it's a lot more powerful, way more powerful, specifically for podcasting. Is that show specifically have heavy sound design?
Climbing Gold?
Yeah.
It depends.
And are you, go on, because I want to hear about like, music choices and stuff. And if you are doing that, or they give you the track to use.
It depends. Like we do some shows that are, I would call them highly produced. And I would say about 75% of the shows we did this last season were really just kind of more what we call roundtable interview style. And they're just kind of fun. And of course, like they get edited. Like they get edited, and then there's like post-production with the narration and stuff like that. But there's very minimal music.
Okay.
Minimal. But Duct Tape uses there's a bunch of platforms out there for music, obviously, which I've even started to use in my own stuff, especially on YouTube. So I have a subscription to Artlist. I have a subscription to Epidemic Sound.
Love Epidemic. That's what I use. Epidemic. Yeah.
And then this is kind of a West Coast thing, but have you ever heard of the company Marmoset?
Marmoset is no. Is that like a jackets and clothing? No, that's Marmot.
No, that's Marmot. Yeah, no. So Marmoset is based out of Portland, but they're essentially like an indie music licensing company who's gotten pretty big, but they've created their own kind of Epidemic Sound type platform. It's called Track Club. Mm-hmm. But the cool thing about Track Club is that if you can go into Epidemic Sound, like they'll give you a set of stems in a zip folder.
Right.
But Track Club, if you see a song you like, you can click on it and open a track editor, and it'll essentially bring up almost like a DAW type thing, a simplified DAW, where you can mix the song before you export it. So you can, like, if you don't want vocals, you can mute them. If you want to turn the guitars down, you can do that. So you can kind of mix it in Track Club, pre-mix it before you export it, which I have found to be pretty incredible.
Dude, that's rad. I've never heard of that. That's like a new concept. I'll have to link to that I'll check it out, and then if listeners for you guys, check it out.
Yeah, I'll send you the link. I mean, I would just say that like it's a little more advanced and kind of boutique than Epidemic Sound. I feel like Epidemic Sound's like a pretty big kind of commercial company. They probably don't have super close relationships with their artists.
Probably not.
And Marmoset is a little more boutique, and I think they probably pay their artists better, and they've got like crazy high quality stuff. I mean, so yeah.
I'll have to check that out. How do you spell that? Or I'll look it up right now.
Track Club, Marmoset?
Yeah, okay. Marmoset Track Club.
Yeah. It's Marmoset, Marmoset. Like Marmot, but Marmoset.
Okay. Yeah. I said cool. Yeah, we'll link to this. I love just sharing or having the guests share new tools and stuff for people to check out that are creating content. And use
So to answer your question though, so I'm doing less of my own original stuff. And just because listen, at the end of the day, like you got to work fast, and having the tools like Track Club and it's just, it makes it so much faster. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll add like little elements. Like if I want to do like a build into something, like I'll maybe do that on my own once I've put the music in, but those are like final tweaks, If I get hired, I got hired recently to create podcast music for a client, which I'm kind of working on right now. And
that's cool.
I've created them just kind of a basket of like different interludes and sounds and stuff like that. So I enjoy doing stuff like that, but I don't know. It's kind of, it's just better to get hired to do that specifically.
Yeah.
Rather than be trying to do that in the post-production process,
Makes sense. Yeah. Because then, you get to flex your creativity, but there's more like structure of like what they expect. Like, did they kind of tell you like the vibe and the tone of like the music I've been working specifically with Duct Tape more. I mean, I've been working with them for 2.5 years now, and I kind of have creative license now. But that's because they don't need to tell me what to do, Yeah. Oh, that's when you get to that level, I mean, that's the best part. That's when you made it as like a professional and also kind of as a creative too, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just the kind of thing. Well, it's like, so, Fitz, who's essentially like the executive producer of the shows, he just kind of knows my style. He knows what I do. He's seen 2 years of my work and been really happy with it. So what that's done is that's freed him up from having to feel like he has to micromanage now. So he gets to focus on like the big picture. What story are we trying to tell? You know, and I feel like maybe we could cut this little part here at the end. You know, he's getting to make those big picture, nuance, creative decisions for himself, but he doesn't have to worry about like the music being not right or something because he just knows I'm going to get it.
Yeah.
So it's a good relationship.
Oh, that's a great position to be in, man.
Yeah.
And are you, and I know it's different with narrative, but are you seeing like amongst other shows and stuff you work on, are they trying to implement video, or are they just audio only podcasts, or are you finding like more and more people want like a video, if it's just an interview, like a video version of the show, or not yet?
You know, I think that's interesting. Obviously, and I know we're going to chat about YouTube, but obviously, like, you know, YouTube is if you can use YouTube, you may as well, you know. But I just feel like for interview style shows, I mean, unless you already have a big audience,
yeah.
I mean, you know, YouTube, you're probably not going to have a lot of success with it. That being said, you know, if you look at a lot of these maybe bigger shows, if they have like a nice studio where they're recording people in person, or just the production quality is good, those, you know, I think YouTube is just like anything else. I think that that quality, no matter what, like, you know, you'll see all these videos that be like, make $10,000 creating an AI video. And believe me, I've messed around with all that stuff because it's fun. You know,
sure.
You know, I copied this channel and made $5,000 in a month. It's like, yeah, like there's a very small percentage of people who are going to make that work. And you know,
very small,
most of the people who are successful doing that are also very creatively talented. And they're probably really good at using Premiere Pro and some other stuff and doing really good editing. I just think that YouTube's like everything else. I think quality is always going to rise to the top. And so, yeah, I guess that's my thought on YouTube.
Yeah, so I have a couple thoughts. Yeah, like I largely consume audio podcasts. I mean, occasionally I'll put on like Theo Vaughn or like a YouTube version of the show. But I have friends that like they basically only consume podcasts via YouTube, which is kind of weird to me. I mean, I get it, but I love the beauty of like going on a walk, like walking my dog, listening to the show. Like for me to be glued to the screen even more often, I'm like, what?
But
I get it.
But that's
me,
you, Eric.
True.
Like,
that's a good point.
Like, let me give you an example.
Yeah.
My 80-year-old dad in the last couple of years has become addicted to YouTube. That's all he does is watches YouTube 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
And you know what? There are millions of people out there doing the same thing.
Yeah, that's kind of profound, actually, that you said, yeah, that's me. And I guess you're right. I don't know why I'm fighting that. But all that to say is that, like you said, yes, if you can be on YouTube, why not? Like, I'll put this on YouTube. Will it crush it? I don't know. It'll get some views. It's not going to break the bank or anything. But
yeah.
Yeah, I'm more and more of my clients, they haven't pulled the trigger, but it's more of this thing, I guess, that bugs me, is that they think they need to be on YouTube. Like they have to be. And it's like, you don't have to be, but it's like, should you? Yeah, I guess you should. Why not? If it's available to you.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just it's kind of a weird thing.
Yeah.
And I guess younger people, I mean, I'm 39, but I guess, you know, people in their 20s and younger, like they can probably consume podcasts all via YouTube as well. I watch more dumb videos on YouTube than podcasts, but I still consume it, just not as much for podcasts.
I don't know, man. I would wager that there's a big chunk of people that spend an hour or two a day watching stuff like Joe Rogan, you know, watching interviews, watching Lex Friedman, Watching shows like that, where people are doing like long form interviews. I mean, I'll watch stuff like that. I won't watch the whole thing, but I'll watch 20 minutes of it.
Sure.
I mean, if you can, and it's like if you can capture someone for 20 minutes on YouTube, that's pretty darn good.
Yeah. No, you're right. And I love YouTube. It's just for podcasting, I guess. Maybe I'm bitter because I'm not a great video editor. So I'm like, fuck YouTube. I just want to do audio.
No. But I was going to say, like, one of the things I've noticed is that, like, you, in the last year, if you talk about 2024, you really, like, stepped up your studio game. Like, you've got a really nice little studio. I can tell, like, your camera's good. You've got that cool on-air thing behind you.
Yeah.
And just doing that is significant. I mean, like, your videos look great.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, I have been putting a lot more effort into YouTube. Just for I mean, it's the second largest search engine, and everybody's there, and so I do want to grow my YouTube, and it's just tough. I guess I've just been a little discouraged. Dude, it's tough, dude.
It's incredibly tough. Do you want to chat a little bit about YouTube?
Yeah. Tell me about your experience, because I know you've got a couple channels. Well, tell us about all those, and you're monetized as well. So, kind of how that works.
So I have experimented with YouTube and been doing YouTube since about 2016. I think that was maybe when I did my first kind of video where I was doing like kind of audio type tutorials on my PodPeak channel. And just kind of, over the years, about 2 or 3 years ago, I decided to get way more into it. Like I wanted to teach myself how to be a video editor. I just wanted to have that tool set. So I started recording more PodPeak audio, mostly Reaper focused tutorials
do well on educational stuff, does really well on YouTube.
Yeah. Well, that's how I kind of built my channel. But then about 2.5 years ago, I was like, well, I want to like start experimenting with doing other stuff. So I've probably created in the last 5 years, probably 12 or 13 different channels where I was just trying different things.
Wow.
Some of them I put a lot of work into. A couple of those channels have over 1,000 subscribers, but they're not monetized yet. But I ended up closing those channels down. I mean, I couldn't even tell you how many hours I put into those channels, and I decided to close them down because this last year, I finally have a channel that kind of blew up on YouTube, and it's a faceless true crime documentary style channel.
The faceless thing. I see people on YouTube make money with a faceless channel. Not that was your goal, but the faceless thing, it is a niche, right?
Well, yeah. And just to be clear, like this isn't like an AI faceless channel. This is like me writing scripts, doing high-end documentary style production, music post-production. I'm essentially making mini documentaries that are 15 to 30 minutes long. Each one takes, 40 hours of work. So,
wow.
But I did that. I worked on that channel for about 2 years, got it monetized. All last year, I made maybe 80 or 90 bucks last year. And then I took a 3 or 4 month break because like you, I was feeling demoralized.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of thought about, well, I'm just going to refine a couple things. I'm going to switch a few things up. And I made 2 or 3 more videos, and my third video went viral. And my channel, it looked like a crypto chart. I mean, it went like a parabolic crypto chart. It went like this. And so I went from making no money to making real money in a month.
Really?
After 5 years
grinding
of work.
I love that. That's fucking awesome, dude. So congrats. I'm pumped for you that took off. 2, just for people listening, it doesn't happen overnight, dude. It takes a lot of work, and you have to be in the work and passionate and
yes.
put like doing your best because you want to do your best, and you know,
Yes.
not just going into it with the mindset of like, oh, I'm going to make money, and you have to be like in it, like you have to want to keep doing it. You know what I mean? So that's a word for people listening, and that's also badass, dude. Like, good for you. And so
Yeah.
are you still doing new episodes, or are you letting those ride?
No. Because I've essentially turned it into like a real income stream. I've incorporated it. I'm essentially doing YouTube full time.
No way.
I built it into my work schedule. So every day I just clock in like I'm doing a job. I work on my YouTube stuff.
Oh, dude, I'm so happy for you. That's the dream in a way, like to be able to make money as a creator. But like you said, it's not glamorous. It's a lot of work.
No,
Yeah.
I'm essentially working, you know, on average, I would say 40, sometimes 60 hours a week. And I'm not exaggerating. Like, I work hard.
No way. I'll have to check it out. Can you shout the channel name out?
Yeah, it's called Northern Crimes. Yeah,
Northern Crimes.
I've been pretty low key about it. So
I remember you were telling me you were kind of low key. This rings a bell, I think.
Yeah. Well, and so it you know, the true crime genre is huge. Obviously, people love it.
Oh yeah, 118 view is the Oregon campground murders.
Yeah.
100 something thousand, 112,000, 104,000.
And the thing is these are long form videos. So, you know, like the average view duration for my videos is like 10 to 12 minutes.
Wow.
So, so I'm making, I'm making real money just off ad revenue.
Yeah. Dude, that's fucking awesome. So you got that going on. You've got like the podcast clients that you work with. You've got your Pod Peak channel, which I've seen the recent tutorial about that channel strip, and it looks like you kind of picked that back up, which that's all really well produced as well. So you're like, you're like a full-time creator slash like podcast producer. It's isn't it wild, like to where you are now, thinking like you and me both, like however many years ago, trying to make money as like a studio like engineer recording like musicians and stuff. It's so weird how like those skills and the way like the world changed with YouTube came about and podcasting, and then able to like use those skills but pivot it into like a current business that actually works, kind of, you know, because that world is tough.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, and like my 18-year-old daughter who's in college right now, she can't stand when I say this, but I am a content creator. That is how I make a living. I'm a content creator. And she's like, Dad, don't call yourself that. I'm like, but that's what I am. Like,
that's what you are. Yeah.
I make music. I make podcasts. I make YouTube videos. That's what I am. I'm a content creator.
Dude, you work your ass off, man. That's that's impressive and good for you, man. I mean, it sometimes not sometimes, it always takes a while, and all these, 20-year, what is it, 10-year overnight success or 20-year overnight success. So dude, that's rad. What did I wanted to ask you, what was I gonna, anyway, yeah, dude. So you've got a lot on your plate, man. Are you working like the most you've ever worked before in terms of just hours?
No, it's funny, man. Like here's the deal. It's like, you're 39, and this is something that I have to like remind myself. You're 39, you've got 2 young kids. That is a completely different world than I'm living in. My daughter just started her first year of college.
Oh, you're free.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So that's the thing. Like, and I've always been a little bit of a stubborn that way, even as she grew up, even though I've been very involved in her life and we're very close. I mean, I live alone. I have a girlfriend, but she actually doesn't live in Alaska. Like, I've got a lot of time, dude, to just immerse myself in creativity. And so I've just kind of constructed the lifestyle that I want.
Yeah. Yeah, you really have. Yeah, I can't wait. Like, I kind of dream about the days of like freedom where I'm not waking up at like 5 a.m. and
But I mean, I wanted to bring that up because like, I know you're interested in YouTube, and I know that like, if you had like more time and, and energy,
Yeah.
you'd probably be able to, I'm sure you and I could have a great conversation about, I'm sure I could help you like figure out YouTube stuff that you wanted to do, but it's like, that takes so much time. And like, you're a friggin' busy dad. Like you've got, your kids are your priority right now, and they have to be.
They have to be. And it's one thing, it's like, that the actual time, like in the day, but it's also too, I think, the mental space to create. It's like, you almost kind of like need that break, because then it turns on like another part of your brain where you can like go be creative, where I feel like, even though I'm like doing podcasts and dabbling in YouTube, I feel like it doesn't really like feel creative. And finally, I play guitar, but like I feel there was like the last, like even during COVID, last like 4 or 5 years, I feel like I was like hardly playing or not inspired to play, and that's starting to come back a little bit now. But I do miss it. I do miss like having that open time to be creative. But it's cool because you're doing the creative thing, but also like making money from it, which is the dream, really.
Yeah, but again, I have 2 comments. Well, one, like you built yourself a studio, because I remember when we were talking 2 years ago, you were sharing a studio space with your daughter's bedroom.
That's right.
And how amazing is it just to have your own separate space now?
Oh, dude, it's great. So actually, it kind of happened because we moved, and I'm in the garage. But what was rad, and this kind of just happened coincidentally, is the previous owner. So we bought a house. So the previous owner of this house, he had his office in the garage, and so it has AC and heat pumped into it, and it's like it's pretty well done, and that just kind of happened. We weren't really looking for that, but so we got really lucky in that sense. And then I was able to do some paint and got a couple rugs and stuff, and that's helped a lot.
It sounds really good. Like your audio that I'm hearing, right? It sounds great. You sound like you're in a studio.
Yeah, I've got some panels up and the rugs, and I've got a gobo divider thing over here. So, well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate you noticing that.
Well, I know. I mean, I really understand, because I live alone. I mean, my daughter has a room here. I have a 3-bedroom place, so I've got my living room, kitchen. I've got a room where I sleep. My daughter has a room over here, but then I've got a dedicated studio. And so, like, when I come in here every morning to work, I feel inspired because it's my studio. It's set up just the way I want it. It's my little space. And just having a separate studio space from your life, I mean, I would just imagine like this has been a game changer.
It has, because it's not only the physical space, because I'm in the garage. If I would have done it in one of the bedrooms, it would have been cool, but then I would have heard the kids all day and they'd be knocking on the door. So it's like the physical separation, and then having like the vibe the way you want it. It's like the mental, you walk in, it's like, oh, this is my space. Yeah. I tell people that it's like new creators or new podcasters, they probably don't have the luxury or the resources yet to like do it, but it really, I almost want to tell people to at least like invest in like a bookshelf or something that like kind of looks good on camera, anything, a lamp or something. And then, even if you have to be in the corner of your bedroom, you could do it right for like a cheap budget.
Yeah. These are things that you learn over time. I mean, you and I have both kind of learned the importance of that stuff over time by doing it.
Yeah. And are you, tell us about your PodPeak channel. Like, the
YouTube channel. Yeah. So that channel is monetized. I hardly make any money on it, but what I've realized is that, here's the deal. Like that's just become my fun channel. Like I'm just going to make videos. And I know you saw recently, it was cool. Like a plugin company reached out to me because they'd seen one of my videos on PodPeak, and they're like, hey, we love your videos. We've noticed that you have used our plugins. So I kind of got this partnership going with Sonymous. So that's why I made those recent videos. They gave me these plugins that I love. And they're like, try these out, do a review, we'll give it to you. And, I didn't make any money doing it, but I forged a relationship with a plugin company that I really like, which is cool. So I'm just doing, and then I made a video about my studio desk that I built. I mean, I'm just making videos that are fun for me. The average retention on my audio channel is like 1.5 to 2 minutes. The average retention on my true crime long form storytelling channel is 10 minutes plus.
That's insane.
So obviously there's a lot more work that goes into that, but the competition, that's another thing I've learned about YouTube is like, the competition in like the music audio production field, it's just so oversaturated.
Yeah, it is.
The true crime storytelling documentary genre is saturated, but there's still room to like find niches in there, which I've been able to do. And like for me, at the end of the day, it's like, I want to make money. I cannot afford to make videos that don't make money. And so that's just kind of a transition that's happening organically. It's like, I've done a bunch of different things. Some of my channels are starting to do better than others, and I'm just naturally focusing more on those channels that are doing better. So
yeah, and I think that what's worked out for you, at least from an outside view, is like the true crime thing, the barrier to entry is a lot higher. Like the amount of work and time and stuff. You know what I mean? Whereas like talking about like audio and stuff, it's like, yeah, but like to really do true crime properly, like you said, it's a ton of time and resources.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just like anything. I mean, there's a lot of really low quality, crappy AI true crime channels out there that have like 500,000 subscribers. It's like, what? But I just think that, the other thing too is like, every time Waves puts out a new plugin or any plugin company puts out a new plugin, within the first week, there's like 100 different videos on it. It's just like,
I tried to compete with that, but the turnaround time, and then the production value. It's like, if there's a new microphone, it's like people are on it, and it, I love the videos. I'm like, fuck, that's a good video. Like that's what I have to compete with.
No, well, like the videos that you've made where you've reviewed stuff have been some of the coolest videos you've made.
Thank you. Yeah.
Like I love those. Those are awesome videos. I love that stuff, but those take time. I mean,
and well, as we kind of near home here, so tell me about PodPeak. Like, you've got the true crime thing, that's part of your income, and like PodPeak, are you like, is the goal to kind of just continue course, or do you have like a grander vision for what it could be, or are you comfortable like are you good type of thing? Are you looking for new clients, or?
I'm looking for. I'm at the point in my career where, I mean, let's be real. I don't make a ton of money, I mean, I make enough money. I do okay, and I'm doing better and better. But, you and I have talked about this. I mean, I'm going to be 50 years old this next year, and I've spent all of my life, I don't have a college degree. In my 20s, I was just climbing mountains and not making any money. And then I was like a full-time musician for 15 years. So when I got done with that, I didn't have anything. So it's like I've had to just grind and grind and grind to get where I'm at now. And so it's like finally at 50 years old, it's like I'm getting kind of like, oh, I've got like a balance. I'm kind of doing what I want to do.
You're in a good place.
So am I looking for new clients? Kind of. I'm looking for clients who are people that I want to work with.
Yeah.
I'm in a position where now it's like, if someone reaches out to me and it's not the right fit, I'll either just say, hey, I'm not sure I'm the right fit for you, or I'll refer them to somebody else. I just want to work on stuff that I'm into, which I realize that sounds like coming from a place of luxury or privilege, but it's not, because I've worked really hard to get to that place. But I would rather make less money than work on projects that just grind my soul down. And so I'm just trying to be balanced. You know, I'm trying to find balance and not overwork myself. And when I am working really hard, I want it to be something that I'm really into. If that answers
No,
your question.
it does. 100%. I'm kind of more and more getting to that point. I feel like, you know, like however many years ago, I was like, oh, I want to build the company to be like this big production house, and I have like staff engineers, and I'm kind of running it. But I'm learning that one, I don't think I want to run it and be managing a bunch of people. I don't even know how to do that, to be perfectly honest. And two, it's like, I kind of just want to work with people that the content so much I don't care so much about what the content is, but it's like, if I like the people that I work with. So I work with this one investment company, super, super corporate. I think they're even a Fortune 500 company, huge, like a Charles Schwab or Morgan Stanley type of thing. But dude, the people that I work with there on the marketing team are so cool, so easy to work with, so understanding, and with like deadlines. And it's like,
sounds like a great gig.
It's a great gig. And it's like, I want more stuff like that, like where it's like, I like working with the people. And I've even had, like you said, a couple people reach out where it's like, I don't think it's a good fit. And you know, maybe it would have been if time went on and that relationship developed, but and this is going to sound bad, but I can almost kind of get a vibe off like talking to someone on a call, like if I would be, and that's,
of course.
I don't know if that's bad or if I'm being like judgmental, but it's also,
I don't think it sounds bad. I think that sounds like experience.
Yeah. It's kind of like, you know, especially, I mean, you've been doing this longer than me, but you kind of get a feel for like what will jive. And yes, I do want to make more money. Honestly, I want to make a lot more money, but
I know me both.
But I also want to do the stuff I want to do. And so I'm kind of in that balance, trying to get into that balance more and more.
Right.
It's tough, and you know, it's an ongoing thing.
Yeah, it is tough. Yeah, I remember when we talked a year and a half or 2 years ago. I remember you were telling me that you had mentioned like, I was kind of initially thinking I wanted to do this, but then it's like, you realize like now, like with the technology that we have, and like, I mean, you can create so much from a studio now and like put it out to the world, that it's like, why would you want to deal with all that overhead? And it's like, even if you have employees or people that you work with, you can do it remotely if those people are competent.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I've got one guy I guess, he freelances for me, quote unquote, but he has his own thing.
Yeah.
But like occasionally when I get like overwhelmed or something, be like, hey, do you want to edit this? Do you have time? And he'll edit it for me. And I kind of like that relationship, maybe just having like 2 or 3 main people that I could rely on.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the one thing I can tell you, like I'm actually just now creating a new YouTube channel that's going to be long form documentaries about like kind of white collar finance, corporate greed type documentaries.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
Which there's a pretty big audience for stuff like that too. But I'm starting to think like, okay, so if I'm doing Northern Crimes and I'm able to monetize that, I'm going to have to find someone to work with me to do these videos.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to need to find someone who's got like chops as a video editor, who I can record the narration, send them kind of an outline of what to do, and be like, okay, make this. And, you know, so I might have to do that if I keep going with YouTube, but it's really interesting, man. It's like, I can see YouTube becoming my full-time gig and PodPeak becoming my side hustle.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
So weird, man. If somebody would ask me like that like 20 years ago, I'd have been like, what?
Yeah.
Like, what? That didn't, what?
What do you use Premiere, or what do you edit in?
That's another, so we were going to talk about stuff we had used in 2024 and we got kind of sidetracked. I'm going to tell you right now, the biggest game changer for me with my videos this last year is that I switched from primarily using Final Cut Pro to using CapCut.
CapCut. Okay. I've heard a lot of good things with CapCut. I've never used it, but
CapCut is crazy.
Is it intuitive
Fast
and
amazing to use? Like, yeah, for the kind of videos that I'm doing, that I would say it's like high production, but not ultra technical production. Dude, CapCut's like way better than Final Cut Pro, and I've invested like thousands of dollars into plugins for Final Cut Pro. Like, CapCut's way more stable. It doesn't work my computer as hard. It's got all of those features that I paid for in Final Cut Pro built into it.
Wow.
I mean, yeah, dude, CapCut has been a game changer, and it's $9 a month.
Dude, I've heard good things. I'll have to check it out for like for just shorts or just anything. But people talk about, you know what's funny? That's another thing. Like, you just were talking about CapCut, like genuinely, because you like it. You know, as your channel grows, and maybe in one episode you mentioned that you did it with CapCut or just, I don't, you know what I mean? It's like that plugin company that reached out to you. It's like soon you'll start getting like, oh, CapCut, like we want to sponsor a video, or we want to, you know what I mean? That I feel like that stuff tends to come with like where you're at. Which, are you open to that kind of stuff?
Yeah, well, I've been approached by companies that want to sponsor me, and I haven't taken any of I haven't agreed to do any of those, because I'm just kind of being patient. And you know, I'm
waiting till it can really pay off. And are you the type where like it would have to be a product that you're super aligned with, or what if it's just a generic, like Pepsi you wanted to sponsor? Is that?
Yeah.
As I get older, I give less of a shit. I'm like, you want to give me money as long as you're not doing anything really shady. I
don't know, man. I would say that I'm more lean to like, I kind of need to feel good about any product that I'm going to push, and I just feel like, you know, at the end of the day, like, your reputation is everything. And it's like, I've worked so hard to be in the position that I'm at. So I'm not going to just, you know, because these companies will reach out to you and they'll be like, hey, we'll give you $500 to do this. And it's like, would I like an extra $500 on my videos? Yeah, that would be great. But is it really worth it for me to like potentially give people who are like, my consumers something that's not very great? No, it's not worth it to me. I'd have to get paid a lot more than that to do that, you know?
Makes sense.
So I'm just, I'm just, I mean, anytime my spidey sense goes up, I'm just like, nope, not going to do it. That's kind of how I make my decisions.
I like that.
I've learned to trust my instincts.
Trust your instincts, yeah. And the opportunities, I'm sure, will continue to come, Evan. It sounds like it's only up from here. So congrats on all your success. And as we wrap up, tell people where they can get in touch with you if they want to watch any of your channels or any of the projects you're doing.
Yeah, so if you wanted to get in touch with me for like podcast audio stuff, just go to podpeak.com, or you can reach me at evan@podpeak.com. And then on YouTube, my Podpeak channel is just @Podpeak. If you want to check out my true crime channel, it's @Northern Crimes. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
And I'll link to all that stuff, man, in the description and show notes. But thank you for chatting with us.
You bet, man. It's awesome talking to you.